Welcome back to the Orange Bowl Huddle. I'm your host, Mike Cugno. I know huddle is a term we often use for football, but we're actually talking about basketball. The AutoNation Orange Bowl Basketball Classic. It is back in December, and we've got quite the lineup. You've got Florida State taking on UMass, and the University of Florida, the defending NCAA champions, taking on George Washington later in December. And how lucky were we? We got to talk to both head coaches, both Luke Loucks from FSU, who's in his first year, and the national championship winning coach himself, Todd Golden, who looks to repeat for the Gators coming into this season. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of big time names, a lot of big time programs coming to South Florida at Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise, and you get to see them up close and in person at an affordable rate. But less from me. How about let's go ahead and listen to the head coaches. Talk about a special guest, not just for the Orange Bowl Huddle and the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic, but for me, myself. We've got Florida State University men's head basketball coach Luke Loucks, a former classmate, I might say. Our years actually overlap there in Tallahassee. So it's nice to see you again. Instead of watching you from the stands, get to talk to you in person. Coach, first and foremost, I know I'm excited. A lot of my group chats are excited that you're the head coach now at FSU. How has this sort of whirlwind year been for you?
Yeah, it's been great. First of all, Mike, I appreciate you having me on to talk to a fellow Knoll is always great. I don't remember being a classmate of yours, but I know we crossed paths because you got a really familiar face. And that might have been because I was, maybe not paying attention as much as I should have in class. I was a pretty good student. But it's been great. It's been great coming back to Tallahassee. Obviously, a lot of built-in relationships from my playing days here. Quite a different role coming from the NBA and being an assistant coach and rising through the NBA ranks to now being the head coach at my alma mater. It's been an absolute privilege and honor. And I'm excited. I'm excited about, personally being back in this town with my family. My wife was also an athlete at Florida State. My kids have never lived in Florida. We've been on the West Coast, for the past decade. So to bring our family back to this town that means so much to us has been awesome. And then professionally to lead a group of young men, hopefully back to competing for ACC championships, and that part of it just career wise has been unbelievable so far.
Well, NBA champion pedigree back on the East Coast, where he belongs. How much of that professional expertise do you think has really gotten the players, the roster, the guys you're recruiting fired up?
Yeah, it's helped. It's helped in a lot of different ways. And it's not just me. We got a couple other coaches coming from the NBA that I had relationships with, and we're all making the jump, to college. It's been great. Number one for recruiting, because all these kids want to get to the NBA. We're coming from the NBA. But number two, for our team and the way we train and the way we eat with our diet, the way we work out and the strength and conditioning, just the format of our practices. I told all these guys from day one, I'm going to treat them like professional athletes. Some of these guys are making a lot of money. I want to prepare them for the next steps. Now, the trade-off for them is to help me win a lot of games. And I think that's a pretty good trade. I'm developing professional athletes. They're helping our team and our program win games. And I think everyone's happy.
I love it. Now, you actually have some experience with the Orange Bowl Classic as a player. You got to come down here and play in South Florida. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, I just remember it being a great environment. The arena was awesome. It was one of those things. Anytime you can play games in Florida, I consider it, our backyard. Florida is so connected. Just in youth basketball coming up, I remember playing in South Florida a ton. Central Florida, all over Florida. So anytime I had the opportunity as a collegiate athlete to play in Florida, I was excited. Didn't matter whether we're playing in Gainesville, playing in the Orange Bowl Classic in Miami, playing in Coral Gables against Miami. I just think it's such a cool opportunity to play in front of fans all across the state that are supporting Florida State athletics. I do remember we played in some close games. It was always a highly competitive game. Love that arena down there, love that area. So I'm looking forward to coming back down south and coaching our team.
Is it fair to liken these kind of um, different. I think of it almost like a bowl game, right? Like we have the
Yeah.
Orange Bowl for football, but is it fair to compare that for the players in terms of the experience, what it's like to come down to these kind of classics or events, whether it's here at the Orange Bowl or somewhere else?
Yeah, it is similar to a bowl game football. I would liken it a little more to an NCAA tournament game, and obviously the stakes aren't quite as high, but you're playing against a team you're not really familiar with, and for UMass, I know they're very well coached with Frank Martin, and for a lot of these lower to mid level teams, mid majors that this is not quite their Super Bowl, but they want to kick our behind, and this is a big game on their schedule. I'm sure a game they have circled, and for Frank to come back to where he started his coaching career, I know he's going to be fired up as a coach, as am I. So it's similar to an NCAA tournament game where they're not in your conference, you're not super familiar, they're from a completely different region, different conference, and you got to go play on a neutral court and get the job done.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. Not just Frank, but obviously the University of Florida will be a part of this as well. And man, I think Florida always used to be looked at as a football state, but maybe I think maybe from your time at Florida State, where things started to get rolling. Obviously, Florida started winning a couple national championships. Miami's been to now Final Four, Elite Eight. Are you noticing this sort of seismic shift in terms of the perception of basketball in the state of Florida, where now you can come to an Orange Bowl Classic, watch actually high level basketball teams that could be or will be in the tournament later in the year?
Yeah, you hit a spot on. Florida's done such an unbelievable job. Todd and his staff, obviously coming off a national title, but when they took over, I think their first year, I want to say they were 17 and 16 or 16 and 17, right around 500. But you saw year over year improvement in their team and the way they developed players, their system, and obviously capping it off with a national title is something we're looking to do with our program. And that's where the state of Florida, like you said, Miami's been now to a Final Four a few years ago with Larinaga. Todd has done such an unbelievable job. My time playing here, and then there was a stretch also where we were going to Elite Eights and winning ACC championships with Florida State. I just think that this state has so much talent, and a lot of good coaches. A lot of young coaches between myself and Jay Lucas and Todd Golden that have a lot of energy and that can go out and recruit. But also we know the game. We know the style we want to play and how we want to recruit. You look at the next two classes in 2026 and 2027. I think there's almost 40% of the top 100 in the country are players in Florida and Georgia. And so this region, although historically it's been, and even now there's so much football talent. It's always going to be a football state, but basketball is coming, and I know a lot of fans in this state love watching hoops, and so we're excited to be part of it.
Well, Coach, I'm really excited for you, not just for your first year, but for you to head down our way down the peninsula here in the state of Florida, down to South Florida, so you get to show off the program you were building, and you get to do it, as you said, in kind of an NCAA tournament style event here at the Orange Bowl Classic. So we appreciate the time. Congrats on the new gig at the alma mater, and best of luck this season.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Well, best of luck to Coach Loucks in Florida State throughout his first season there on the sideline. We appreciate him joining us here on the Orange Bowl Huddle. But now let's go ahead and toss it to our conversation with Florida Gators head coach Todd Golden. Well, we know the Orange Bowl and the Orange Bowl committee is all about champions. And how about this? For the Orange Bowl Classic this year, we've got a champion in the Florida Gators joining us. And joining us right now is their new head coach, or not new head coach, but newly crowned champion head coach, Todd Golden. Todd, thanks so much for joining us. Does that get old hearing? Does that take some getting used to?
It definitely doesn't get old. And yes, it's taken some getting used to, but we're obviously really proud of what we were able to accomplish last year and a really successful and exciting first 3 years for us here in Gainesville. And we're excited to see what year four brings us.
Now, obviously, there's a huge Gator fan base down here in South Florida. So as you get ready to come down here to South Florida and to the area for the Orange Bowl Classic in December, are you hearing from a lot of South Floridians how excited they are to see you guys?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. As you know, we believe that our brand here at the University of Florida is the most powerful brand across Florida, whether it's collegiate sports or professional sports. And one of the great things about this institution is that we have alums and fans all throughout the state of Florida. So we played some games in Jacksonville, played in Tampa a little bit, but we always really enjoy playing in the Orange Bowl Classic down there in Sunrise.
Yeah, the Orange Bowl brand, the Florida brand, those two coming together are very special. Now, I do know someone who's excited to see the Gators come down here. You may have heard of him, Udonis Haslem. He told me he was talking to you before the championship game. He's been in contact with not just you, but players over the last couple of years. To have that kind of support from an NBA champion like that, what's that been like?
You know what? We have incredible amount of respect for UD and everything that he was able to accomplish here at the University of Florida before his amazing professional career with the Miami Heat. And obviously, when you have someone that is such a respected figure in the game of basketball, and obviously someone that carries a lot of weight in the game, when he shows love to your program, and you know, he gave us some really great tidbits leading up to the national championship game that I think helped motivate our guys to be able to cut down the nets. It means a lot, and my hope is that he'll be there supporting us when we play down there.
I'm sure he will be. He's a former MVP, so he knows what it's like to play in that tournament for the Florida Gators. And he mentioned it is kind of like an NCAA style tournament feel because, you know, it's not like you're seeing opponents you typically see on your schedule. This is kind of a, hey, one and done. You gotta go in there and get it done against an unfamiliar opponent. Is that how you approach it as a head coach?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, we feel like this is another opportunity to help prepare us for the tournament settings that we'll see later in the year, whether it's the SEC tournament, you know, in Nashville, or the NCAA tournament, hopefully for us, where we're going to be playing in a neutral site against an opponent, to your point, that we haven't seen earlier in the year. You know, when we come down there and we play George Washington, who I think has a really good club this year, you know, I think this is a team that has an outside chance of, you know, becoming a NCAA tournament bid type team. If not that, an NIT level team and a quad two opportunity for us, most likely in a neutral site game. You know, these are the types of games where you're going to see somebody that you're not completely used to. You're going to have to scout them on short notice and really hope that your team steps up to the challenge.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those situations where it's win-win because as you mentioned from the competition level, you get to you get to introduce your players to this style of basketball and then not only that, but you get to bring your brand down here in terms of showing off the University of Florida and the Gators and you get that moniker of defending champs. How big is that for a program to go to different places, including South Florida, which has now sort of in the last few years become a basketball hub, not just a football hub?
Yeah, well, you know, as we talked about earlier, you know, the thing that we really appreciate is our support all throughout the state of Florida, and we always will try to play games in the non-conference across the state when it makes sense from a scheduling standpoint. So, you know, when we can, we want to come back down there to South Florida and play in front of our fans who have been so supportive over the years. And again, you know, being able to take the national championship trophy down there with us is something that we're really prideful about.
Now, I have a close friend who he's a big Gator fan because he went to Florida. His girlfriend, though, is a Florida State fan. They were telling me they were going to do the double feature. They're going to stay for both games. So I'm going to ask you what I asked Coach Loucks as well. What should we expect from your team this year? Obviously, it's a little bit of a different roster. What should Gator fans expect to see from Florida in terms of look and feel of maybe the style of basketball you guys will play?
Yeah, it's you know, we obviously are replacing, you know, incredible backcourt, all three of which were drafted in the NBA. Walter being a first round pick by the Jazz, Elijah, a second round pick by Toronto, and Will, a second round pick by Golden State, but one of the young rookies who is now playing the most minutes in the NBA as the 56th pick in the draft. So we're really proud of those guys and what they've been able to accomplish. Obviously, they have not been easy to replace. But we feel like we made the additions to this roster that we need. But the thing that you know, we're going to be hanging our hat on this year is our front court, and we were able to return all those guys: Alex Condon, Thomas Hauk, Micah Hanlockton, Ruben Chinyelu. You know, personally, and I know I'm a little bit biased, but I think we have the best front court in America, and I think those familiar faces are going to help lead us into this new season.
Now, I love that you dropped all those names and where those guys got drafted. But as the new front court comes in, those are the guys that have to deal with, you know, the target on their back from last year's championship. So how do you get the guys prepared mentally for that?
Well, I think it's a natural progression of our
Mhm.
program. All of those guys we leaned on a lot, and even though they didn't get a lot of the love and recognition that our backcourt got, those guys were as important to our success as anybody last year. And so they went through the fights last year. They played in 40 games, the last 10 against incredible competition. So I think they're battle tested. I think they're ready to kind of make this jump into being the targeted guys on our roster. And it's a different look for us in the sense of last year we were the hunters. We were able to sneak up on people a little bit. And that's simply not going to be the case this year. We're ranked pretty much top five anywhere you look. And our guys understand that we have that pressure of kind of carrying the torch from last year into this year. But I think we're excited about that opportunity.
All right. Speaking of which, is that a replica trophy of the national championship behind you?
All right, it's a real one. I don't think it's a replica.
That's
That's
okay. That's
what the
that's the real
NABC
one.
gave us. So it sits here on the back part of my desk.
What a flex. I mean, how dare you blur out the background? I mean, just bring that thing to the forefront. All right, coach. Todd Golden, national championship winner. Very cool to say that. Congrats on all this success, and we look forward to seeing you down here in December for the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic.
Thanks a lot, Mike. I appreciate the time, brother.
We got to talk to both Florida State head coach Luke Loucks and University of Florida head coach Todd Golden. But now it's time to talk to someone everyone here in South Florida knows. He's actually an Orange Bowl Basketball Classic MVP back in the year 2000. Udonis Haslem. He was gracious enough to spend some time with us and talk about his experience playing in the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic. We have a very special guest here on the Orange Bowl Huddle for the Orange Bowl Basketball Classic. Always good to talk to you, Udonis Haslem, of course, not just a Heat legend, not just a South Florida basketball legend, but a University of Florida basketball legend. And of course, the Gators are coming down this year in December. First of all, UD, are you still on the world tour in terms of bragging about your Gators after another national title?
Of course. It never stops until there's another champion. So until next year, oh, excuse me, till this season crowns another champion, I'm going to continue to brag about the Gators. I mean, it was just amazing. And the crazy thing about it was the national championship game actually fell on my wife's birthday, Faith, who's also a Gator.
Wow.
So you can imagine the kind of brownie points I got by taking her to the national championship game on her birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, hon. Here's a trophy, right?
Exactly.
So we appreciate you coming on because obviously you have a lot of history with this tournament too. The year is 2000. It's December 2000. Destiny Child is top of the charts. Castaway is one of the top movies in America, and UD is MVP of the Orange Bowl Classic. What are some of your fondest memories of coming back down here to South Florida to play in this tournament?
Oh man, the fondest memories were having all my friends and family, be able to see me play live. Once you go to college, you kind of move away, and I was a kid that was used to having my whole village behind me, like playing in high school. Like all my family would show up, my friends, everybody would show up. So, going to Gainesville, obviously, it was a great experience for me. But I kind of miss having that village behind me. So I just remember coming home and having an opportunity to spend some time with the family and eat home cooked meals and just do all the family stuff. And also wanting to perform well for my family as well, because it was only time some of those people were going to see me play was that one game. So I wanted to make sure that I gave them a show.
Now, talk to me about the tournament itself because it's I want to say maybe it's like a bowl game feel, but maybe it's more like an NCAA tournament actual feel because you don't see these opponents typically throughout the year. It's kind of walking into an unknown, just a one-time game. Is that what you remember in terms of the competition of this?
Yeah, it's definitely a tournament vibe. It's definitely, really no home team, quote unquote. So you definitely, feel like, it's one and done and you want to be the one to get that one win. So it's definitely a little bit more of a sense of urgency, a little bit more nerves. Um, but it's fun. I love the thought process in it. What I'm saying, you get one turn, you get one chance to play. Bring your Sunday's best. And you might not see this team again. So I love the thought into it. And I love, the collaboration and bringing different teams that might not see each other, bringing those teams together and competing at a high level.
Now, I know you're also a big football fan. Obviously, Florida has been a football state, but
Yes.
man, it feels like in the last 10, 15 years, there's been sort of this seismic shift that when you think Orange Bowl, it doesn't necessarily have to be football. You can talk about the basketball classic because FSU's been very, very competitive last 20 years. Miami's making it to Final
Yes.
Fours. And obviously the University of Florida has won, I think, 3 national titles since, was it 2008? The I think has the state changed or is it catching up?
I think it's catching up. I can't say it's changed. It's still very football heavy, but I think it's catching up. Like you said, FSU has been good the last couple of years, and what Leonard Hamilton and that staff has been able to build. You look at Miami and what they've been able to do. FAU, you know what I'm saying, has made some noise over the last couple of years. South Florida brings in good athletes. The list just goes on and on. And a lot of these athletes are from the state of Florida. I mean, even you look at, and I'm not taking nothing away from Duke, but you look at Cameron Boozer, that's a Florida kid right there doing what he's doing out there at Duke. So I'm just loving, that the state of Florida is getting, the respect it deserves, for basketball as well. It's always going to be a football state, but we have some of the greatest athletes in the world. And if you choose to play basketball and you're a great athlete, then only time, it's only going to take a little bit of time. Same thing with baseball. All these athletes that we have in the state of Florida, they can literally pick whatever sport they want, and if they get the proper training and the proper coaching, they can be elite at all those sports because we have those kind of athletes in this state.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, later in December, your Gators are going to come down here. They're going to play GW. How excited are you to see Todd Golden and them and see how they can build on last year's national title?
Extremely excited because I know for a fact when you're a champion, the hardest thing to do is to do it again the second time and to repeat. So I'm extremely excited to see them, take on that challenge, to see them go through those trials and tribulations and those ups and downs. Those are the things that bring you closer together. Extremely to see Coach Golden, take on that challenge as a coach of repeating. It's going to be, 10 times as hard. Excited to watch him and that staff and how they respond to being repeating champions. And I've kept in touch, with a lot of those guys. It's cool because I got a chance to speak to Coach Golden before the game, which he didn't text message, but he was open to the conversation. We had a chance to speak. So Elijah Martin, who's not with them anymore, he's with the Toronto Raptors. He was the FAU kid who transferred to Florida. I've kept in touch with these kids. So I've built bonds with the current Gators as well. So I'm excited, man.
When you talk about being a former champion and how hard it is to repeat, is the target on their backs now? It's everyone's Super Bowl, it's everyone's title game now. Every time the Gators roll into town, whether it's here at the Orange Bowl Classic or somewhere else.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, anytime you win a championship, you walk in, you're gonna get everybody's best shot. Everybody's gonna be excited. Teams that aren't as good are gonna play above their level. You're gonna watch them one night, they're gonna look terrible. When they play against you, they're gonna be great. Just understand that. Everybody's gonna bring their best and their A game. So you gotta be prepared. But I think that's good for the Gators. I think that helps build that tournament mentality early. So once you get into the tournament, you've already been battle tested, you've already built grit. You've already come together and had to go through some different things just to get to that point because everybody's going to give you their best shot.
All right. Well, the good news is you don't have to wait till March for that tournament mentality. You're going to get it here in December. Udonis Haslem, former Orange Bowl Classic MVP. Actually, I shouldn't say former. That stays with you forever.
Do you know my numbers that game? Can we tweet? Do you know what I put up that game? Do you know my numbers?
I'm going to guess somewhere in the double. Do you remember?
I have no clue, but you keep saying MVP, so I'm just feeling myself a little bit. I'm trying to see what the numbers was like.
Hold on. We'll do this live. Udonis has some MVP numbers, Orange Bowl Classic. Welcome to 2025, where you can do this on your phone in the moment.
Could never do that back in the day.
Okay, I was gonna say 20 and 10. It was 27 and 10.
Oh,
So
cooking.
clean.
Cooking.
Yeah.
Man, it was the good old days.
And you play Gonzaga. Not like, no small
Zags?
school.
I
So,
cooked the Zags like that. Man.
You and Billy D getting it done back then.
That's my guy, man. Love old Billy. Love
All
Billy.
right.
Love the Gators, man. Always. My wife is a Gator. I'm a Gator, man. We just Gators, man.
You love the Gators, but you're still Miami through and through, South Florida through and through, and nothing says South Florida quite like the Orange Bowl. Right?
Yeah. We can't talk about that right now, Mike. We got to keep that off camera. It's a lot of technicalities with It's a lot of technicalities with the. There's a lot of technicalities when it comes to football. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, UD. Well, as always, we appreciate the time. This was a lot of fun, man.
Thank you.
Thanks again to both coaches for joining us here on the Orange Bowl Huddle. Reminder, if you want to see Florida Florida State, UMass, and George Washington play high-level basketball down here at Amerant Bank Arena in South Florida. Head out there in December, but if you do, get there early. Plenty of family-friendly activations happening out at the plaza there in Sunrise about an hour before tip-off. Fun for the whole family. High-level basketball. You could say you saw these teams before they eventually, hopefully, make it to the tournament again this year. Should be a lot of fun. Should be a big season for both programs. Thanks again for joining us here on the Orange Bowl Huddle. For all that information, go to orangebowl.org.